Welcome to Live from Mars, your go-to pop music podcast where we go through the latest and greatest new music releases, what's happening in the music industry, and a deep dive each time. My name is Alex. You may know me as Mars from TikTok, Instagram, wherever you have found me, welcome. And today's episode is going to be a cool one because we have this surprise Justin Bieber SWAG album that came pretty much out of nowhere on Thursday. Justin announced the album on Thursday. It came out on Friday. I've been listening to it all weekend long to try to put together my thoughts on it. And I have a special guest who is back again on Live from Mars, Nick Palmai. Nick is a content creator also on social media. He does the incredibly hilarious Screaming Songs in the Cars videos. He's also a pop music nerd, just like I am, an expert in pop culture. So I figured who else to have come on the podcast to talk through SWAG with me in so much detail. Before I bring Nick on, if you're not already following and subscribed to the podcast or following and subscribed on YouTube, it would mean the absolute world to me if you did. I see the numbers, I see you guys listening and enjoying the content, but not all of you are following the podcast, and that is how we get Live from Mars to grow, to bring really cool guests on like Nick, to get artists on here as well. And if you are already following, number one, thank you. And if you're feeling extra generous, throw Live from Mars an extra 5-star review. It would mean the absolute world to me as well. And without any further ado, let's welcome Nick Palmai to talk all things Justin Bieber and SWAG. Yes, it's not 2012, and there's an album called SWAG. Nick, welcome back to Live from Mars.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me again.
I forget, what is this, like the third time now, I think?
Yeah, this is the third one because we did Sabrina, and then we did Taylor, and now we're here.
Yeah. Well, I knew as soon as I heard there was a Bieber album dropping that we had to get you on as a fellow Canadian and just someone who's also a pop music nerd who knows his career well. So
Yes.
There's a lot to get through with this album. It came pretty much out of nowhere. I know he'd been posting photos and stuff of him in the studio, but there was no clear indication that an album was going to be coming out anytime soon, let alone...
It was not clocking to me.
No, like I woke up Thursday morning and I saw a tweet of this billboard just that said SWAG, and I'm like, who is thinking that that has to do anything with Bieber? And then the next one was like a blurry photo of him next to it, and I was like, oh, I guess
What
this
is
is
going
happening.
on? Yeah.
And it happened. So we both listened to the album. I've listened to it maybe 3 or 4 times now. I'm sure you've listened to it more than
I've been
once.
keeping it just on a couple times all weekend. Like, I have my favorites that I keep returning to, but I keep shuffling the album just to like get a full glimpse. But when a new release happens, if there's like a couple songs that I really, really love, I'm just on those ones. So I've been trying to like force myself to go back and listen to it in full and not just my favorites.
Same. Just to like to put yourself in the mode of the album, to be like in just the zone. Like I'll put my headphones on, I'll close my eyes, or I'll have the lyrics up on my screen. I'll put my phone on Do Not Disturb and just try to take it in as the body of work.
Yes.
And I think that's also something that people, when they leave like really harsh comments on on social media, for us, especially one that really drives me crazy, is people are like, you listen to this one time and then just have this really like wrong opinion on it. I'm like, I have to listen to these albums numerous times to put together an opinion. I'm not just going to shoot something out there having listened to it one time. It's got to be a little bit more thoughtful. Otherwise,
you got to sit with it a little, especially if you're going to go in and try to give it a full review. You don't want to just be like, okay, I gave it one listen, cool. You want to think about it a little.
Exactly. So we've listened to this a bunch. I want to know, to kick things off, what is your history with Justin Bieber like? When did you kind of become a fan? Were you there in the very early days? And what is your relationship with him and the fandom now, I guess?
Yeah, I feel like I was there from the jump, and at the jump, I did not like Justin Bieber. Like, I remember when One Time came out, and it was like, in Canada, we had Family Channel, and they'd play music videos. It was like our version of Disney Channel. They had all the Disney shows, and One Time played every single commercial break twice, and I was like, I don't like this little kid. He's annoying. I don't like this song. Get him off. He's never going anywhere. And then he kept going, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm into this a little bit. And then as he kept releasing pre-singles to like the first album, I remember I loved One Less Lonely Girl and I loved Love Me. And I was like, wait, maybe I'm into this kid. I don't know. And then as he just kept going throughout his career, I was like, I'm a fan. Like, I'm paying attention to everything. I'm watching for drops. I'm excited for them. So like, yeah, I feel like I've been around for Justin Bieber since the beginning. And I'm not like the biggest diehard. Like, there are albums and songs of his that are not my favorite that I like can skip through or not really care too much for, but I'm always clocked in, ready to see what he's going to do. He's an entertaining entertainer, and I think he's like a fun person to watch. You never know what he's going to do, or sometimes it's predictable, and I kind of just love seeing what he's up to, and I loved that this one was such like a surprise. When, like you mentioned the billboards in the beginning, when I saw those, I was like, okay, the era's starting, great, we're starting promo, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden a few hours later it turned into, nope, you're getting everything now, and it was like,
everything now.
Yeah.
I actually, little side note, but I was thinking how would the Miley album have been received if it went through this similar release strategy? If it just
Yeah.
came all together at once, surprise release the day before with those really high fashion photos, putting the album cover up across the world. I actually think that would have helped bolster the performance a bit, but that's a
Yeah,
whole
and
other
kind of
topic.
feed into the whole goal of like, I want you to listen to the album in full. Just here it is,
Exactly.
take it.
Exactly. Which, like, yeah, we could do a whole conversation about how they could have adjusted that, but that's a
Yeah,
whole other world.
that would be
So,
a whole
yeah.
other video.
I know. Maybe we'll do a retrospective 6 month after something
Yeah,
beautiful. But yeah, with Bieber, I also remember when one time came out, I had it on my iPod video and I went to sleepaway camp for the summer and we weren't allowed to have videos on our iPods because like no TV, nothing, just music. And it wasn't available on iTunes, I think, as the song. It was only available as the music video for some reason or when it just had come out. And I remember like having it putting my iPod under the blanket or like comforter of my bed with my AirPods plugged in so that way I could listen to it without watching the video because it was such a moment. And
yeah,
we both kind of grew up during like the peak of Bieber fever, Never Say Never, the movie and the fandom and the purple American Apparel zip up hoodies and
yeah.
the droopy
Everyone
Bieber
had it.
haircut.
White jeans, all of it.
Yep. It was the Supra sneakers. They
Yep.
were everywhere. Yeah, I'm like having major flashbacks, and a lot of my friends were obsessed with him. I also found the first two singles kind of catchy, and then I liked when he was teaming up with Usher and did Somebody to Love. That was a good song.
Yes.
Believe was a huge moment for him with All Around the World and the work with Ludacris and Baby and Boyfriend
Envy
was
and the
also
Beat,
like,
Nicki Minaj, incredible.
yeah, right. Who like low key Zed worked on that song. Like
Yeah.
so random. But yeah, that was like I was into it at that point, and then a lot of shit just started happening. Like he obviously went through a lot of difficult periods personally and professionally. Purpose was a really big return for him. I felt like that album did a really good job of capturing what was happening in pop music at that point with like the tropical house little infusions and playing in with a song like, I'll Show You or the album opener where it played a little bit more into like that Skrillex adjacent DDM sound too. And I really liked that album, but now it feels so dated in that period
Yeah.
from 10
That
years
album
ago.
specifically, like when you put on like "What Do You Mean" or "Sorry" or any of the singles, it like transports you back to that year specifically, and it's just like it fit in that year perfectly. But as time goes on, it's not aging as well. But they're still fun songs to go back to and play like as like throwbacks. But age
Right.
it feels very year specific and not like aging over
Exactly.
time.
Not like a piece.
Yeah,
Exactly. And, after Purpose happened and then there was that big break until I think it was Changes, I hated Changes when it first came out because Yummy was so bad.
so
And then
bad.
every song just sounded the exact same. And then we're now going on to Justice, and that one was more of a return to form. That one had some pretty nice bangers on it. But again, it felt so of the moment of the time listening back. The only one that I'm like consistently in rotation is Peaches. But
Yes, classic.
I think interestingly, the way that Changes is kind of a vibe setter where songs blur together from one to the next because they're all so similar for a lot of them.
The
That's
whole
very much
album to
repeated
me
on Swag.
sounds like it's one song over and over
Right.
again, just like tweaked slightly. And I'm like, I don't even know which one I'm listening to at this point. I'm like, I thought this
Exactly.
rapper was on this song I just listened to, and now he's on this one again. Or is it the different
Yeah.
person? I don't know what's going on.
It's a little confusing.
Yeah, listening front to back, it's not very distinguishable between the tracks.
No, and that's honestly how I feel about this album. So I guess before we go into like the weeds of Swag, we know about your history as a Bieber fan. What was your first impression takeaway from the album? How are you feeling about it after a few more listens, a few more days of listening to it? Where is it starting to settle for you?
Yeah, my first impression was I listened to Daisies first because I was refreshing Spotify trying to get the release as soon as they came out, and I saw like my New Music Friday playlist updated before I could find the album on his landing page. So I just clicked Daisies first and then linked to the album that way, and I was kind of floored. Like Daisies is so good. I'm obsessed with that song. Definitely one of my favorites on the whole album. Definitely a great choice to push as a single. And it
Oh, yeah.
felt to me like immediately I'm like, okay, we're back in Journals. I remember when Journals came out, he didn't release it all as like one album. It was like once a week or once every 2 weeks. I
Yeah,
remember
it was
him
once a week
speaking.
single. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
he would drop them and you'd hear it, and then at the end you had the whole collection. And the sound right away, I was like, this reminds me of Journals, and I loved it. I got Journals when it first came out. People were like, no, 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 I'm not into this. I don't really like it. And you could tell his label didn't really support it because it was like a kind of a one-off for him where he was like, this is what I want to make. So when I started listening to the album fully, other than just Daisies, I was like, this to me feels like now that he's away from all of the like Scooter Braun of it all, the entertainment world, he's sat with his career for a little bit and he's been like a little odd. Like his social media has been like weirding me out
Weird.
a little. I'm like, I don't know what
Weird.
kind of era he's in right now, but it's a little strange. I don't know what's going on. But
Right.
now once you see like the album in full and it came out, it sounds like something he actually wants to make. I made it with the people I love about my life currently. You're just gonna have it. I'm not gonna do the promo. I'm not gonna do anything. Take the album that I want to make. I'm out of the machine right now. I don't want to hear the outside noise of what the label thinks I should do, what so and so thinks I should do. This is what I wanted to make as a body of work. Take it. And so that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And overall, there's a good chunk of the track list that I'm like returning to a lot. And I kind of do that with albums when they first come out. I'll pick my favorites and then I just go back to them because I'm like fixating on them. But then the album tracks that I'm not so fixated on, they kind of grow on me a little later. So I'm in the
Yeah.
phase of like, I have my favorites and I'm going back and like into them more. But some of the ones on the later half of the album don't stick out to me as much as the first half of the album does. The first half feels more put together than the second half, in my opinion.
I agree.
But overall, I think it's his most cohesive album to date. You could tell he definitely went for a certain sound immediately, like especially on what is it called? The one where he pitches himself up.
Oh, Yukon.
Yukon, yes. I was gonna say Tonka. I was just at a
Yeah.
child's birthday. Sorry.
Conquer
Yukon.
Girl. I love
That one
that.
to me, it like confirmed when I was listening to the album. I'm like, he's very inspired by SZA, in my opinion. The whole album, the production to the way he like uses his wordplay across the production, it's very SZA reminiscent. And when that song started playing the first time, Yukon, I was like, is this a SZA feature? But then it was just his voice pitched up. That one specifically confirmed. I think he's taking inspiration from SZA for sure, and I kind of love that for him because the way his tone is and the way he has like swag, he can skate across a beat just like SZA can, and he's proved that a little bit on the album.
Yeah. That's a great perspective on it. I think I agree with you for most of it. Yeah, I think that this album was very much not what I was expecting. I mean, seeing an album title Swag in 2025 was something I rolled my eyes so far back into my head for
Yeah.
because it just feels so 2012.
And it almost felt like, is he trying to do a callback and being like, Swag Bieber is back? Like, are we getting like
Right.
boyfriend Justin Bieber again? Like, that's kind of what it felt like in the beginning, but then you're like, oh, no, maybe not.
And I also don't think that like swag is the right word. It feels kind of millennial, like chuggy for me. Like
Yeah.
if you imagine if he named this album, and I'm not condoning this by any means, but imagine if he named the album Riz.
Yeah.
Like, it would still be bad. It would still be bad. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. The name of the album, and then Thursday when the collaborators started coming out between Lil B and Dijon and McGee and Gunna and Sexyy Red, I think a lot of us were focused on the hip hop side of it, expecting this to be like a rap album because that's who he's been seen in the studio with, and that's who he's been hanging out with, and a lot of them were featured on this album. And I'm so glad it didn't go down that lane. I think my first impression take on the record is still holding out for me personally. The review I posted on TikTok and Instagram was mostly saying that he very much set out to craft a vibe, and I completely agree with you. There's a massive SZA inspiration here. It makes sense because Carter Lang, who worked on Control and SOS, is on this project as well. So there is that natural through line. I think a lot of these songs are putting him exactly where he wants to be right now. He is owning, I believe, 100% of the masters of this. It's his first album, no longer working with Scooter Braun. He had complete creative freedom to craft exactly what he wanted with this one, and in good ways and bad ways, you can tell. You know, I
Yeah.
think that there are definitely moments, like you were saying, on the first half of the album that are really strong. All I Can Take, I loved that one. I love how it
Yes.
opens you up into this glossy late 80s, early 90s Michael Jackson aesthetic. And I thought it was a really fun way to bring you into the world and then to go right into Daisies, which I agree with you. I think is like by far the best choice for a single on this album.
Yes.
Way you got me all in my head. Think I'd rather you in my bed. Whatever it is, you know I can take it. I'm counting the days, how many days till I can see you again.
It's laid back and free and fun and just like you're running through a sunflower field almost. You get that sense of freedom from listening to the song.
Yeah. And the production complements his voice perfectly. It's just like, wow, I just want to like sit on a beach and listen to this or go for like a long walk and like just have a nice, calm, relaxing day. I just love it so much. It's been on loop all weekend.
Right. I guess I want to focus on the album without going too deep right away. Is how does swag fit into the broader landscape of pop R&B right now? Is he chasing a trend we kind of hinted at with with the SZA mention? Or is this more of like him trying to compete with anyone, or he's trying to compete with no one? What is your take on that?
Yeah, so I don't think he's chasing a trend. I think it's more of like he's chasing the type of music he likes to listen to himself. Like even going back to journals, that was his way of like stepping out of the machine to be like, well, this is what I want to make right now. I'm just going to put it out casually and do what I want. And this kind of felt like a good first step for him to leave room for growth. Like overall, the album isn't super polished. I don't want to say it feels unfinished, but it feels very chill and
Yeah.
laid back and not as overproduced. So I think in a way that's good for him, because if he wants to keep going further down this lane, he didn't come out guns a-blazing. He's just showing you what he's into right now, what he's trying to like dive deeper into now that he's more on his own. And I think it's a good enough album that people are going to pick up on it and enjoy it, but it also leaves enough room to grow further down that path and like perfect it even more. Because if he really wants to hone in on this sound and like own it, he could. He has the ability to do that. You do have that side of his fan base that you see online actively right now that are like, I was unpleasantly surprised where I'm not really enjoying what's happening right here. But then you see the journals side of it all where all these people are like, no, this is what he's always wanted to make. This is so good. I love this. I love journals. And now this is like a more progressed version of that, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
but also still different. It doesn't feel like a carbon copy and paste of journals. It feels like he's just exploring that a little further.
Yeah, it's journals 10 years later. But there's a part of what you said that I really agree with, that I think it does feel half-baked. I think that this album feels like it was chasing an aesthetic, chasing a vision, whether sonically, whether melodically, from a production angle, whatever it may be. This is fully creating a vibe. And I think the best albums are those that create that vibe. But the biggest piece for me that's missing from this project is the songwriting and the repetition, both in production and repetition in songwriting. And I got flack for this when I was posting my review online, that repetition is not always a bad thing. Some of the most successful and best pop songs of all time rely on repetitive hooks to drive a point home. But the point that they're driving home has lyrical weight to it. And that is where I struggled with this album, where so many of the songs were using the exact same pre-chorus into the chorus, into the post-chorus, into the bridge. It was either it just felt like it went on and on and on, where it was not going the levels deep that I think a lot of us either expected from this album or would expect from someone in pop music of his stature at this point in his career. And, he's never been like a lyrical savant in the way that a Taylor Swift or Olivia Rodrigo or Sabrina are. But he is somebody who's able to kind of curate a sound. And I
Yeah.
just think the songwriting is where like it really stumped me on a number of these songs.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that for sure. Like the lyrics, especially because of what we've seen in the public eye since the last time he's released an album. He's gotten married, he has a child, he's parted ways with old management for like reasons no one knows. He has a really good opportunity to share a very interesting story that everyone's kind of waiting for. And I feel like part of me expected that on this album, and I didn't really get a lot of that. And I also think of like, not to compare it because I feel like he's a much, much, much milder version of this, but Britney Spears. She's very much like boycotting the whole entertainment industry because she's like, fuck you all. Like, look at how you treated me. I'm not doing
I
anything
know.
for you fuckers. And I feel like he's kind of in that mindset of like, just with even with this album roller, where he's like, you're not getting the glam and the lights and the cameras here. You're just
Nope.
having what I want to make. And so part of me is like, maybe he's not diving deeper into the life of it all and like really telling a story, because maybe he also in a way is like, fuck you all, like you're not getting to know everything. Like look at even the standing on business and the way he talks to like paparazzi and people in the public. He's very much
Yep.
has like a stance like, I don't fuck with this business, like this business is insane, it's driven me insane. So I feel like as of now he's in a point where he's like, you're not getting a lot from me, but you're gonna get what I want to give you. But I hope at some point he decides to share his story through music, because that's what's gonna hit the best for people.
And that's also why an artist kind of starts off making music anyway. Like it's their way of
Yeah.
expressing themselves. It's your way of sharing your story and sharing your voice with the world and going about whatever is bothering you that day when you're writing a song, or the happy things or the sad things. And that's where the artist fan connection really strengthens, when there's vulnerability, where you're listening to a song and you know what the artist is going through, but you can relate it back to what you're going through. And I think a lot of this album, it's interesting. I feel like for a while now, really since Changes, I would say, he's been balancing and walking this line very, very cautiously between being this godly man who is, wholesome and a husband and a father and is religious, and there's so much religious imagery woven into Justice, and being just a good partner to Haley and a good father to Jack on a lot of the music on this album too. But then the other half of it is just very sex forward, promiscuous, dirty,
Yeah.
which, like, power to him, create whatever you're going to want to create. But I think that those are so distinctly different mentalities of Justin Bieber as a person, as a celebrity, as a man, as an individual, that it makes it confusing as to who you're getting on an album, with those being on such opposite ends of a spectrum in my eyes. But what do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I think I agree with you in a way where I'm like thinking about what would his process be when he's making an album, because it doesn't really feel like he comes to the table with a concept and it's like, this is the message I want to share with this body of work. How am I going to do that? This, even just like what you said, made me think of this one. It feels very quick. It doesn't
Mhm.
feel like he took a long process to like really hone in on what he was trying to present to the world, especially on the back half. We were talking about how like it's less about the messaging in his lyrics and more about like very sex driven and like a little controversial, I guess you could say. Like you got the one-offs, you got the song with Sexy Red, which, side note,
I want to talk about that.
yeah, we could talk about that. Not super into it, but he had a vision in the first half in my head, what I could see, and then the second half kind of lost it. There's a lot of like interludes. Maybe this album should have been shorter and it would have worked better, but a big bulk of the track list is like the fillers of the little, like, he did the remix of the Standing on Business, he has the voice memo, he has like a lot of random slide-ins in there that don't really fit a lot, in my opinion. Like the one
Not one
where
bit.
he's
Not one
being
bit.
told that he has black in his soul, and like, you could have left that one out. Just take that win for yourself. That does not need to be on the track list.
I
So
lost it when I
I was like,
heard
this
that.
is so corny, and like on this, it's dancing on a line that I don't want to dance on.
I want, yeah, like, my eyes popped out of my head when I
Yeah,
heard
I was
that
like, oh,
on first listen.
okay,
Yeah,
sure.
so you're hitting on exactly where I wanted to go next, is the length of the album, the track listing, the interludes, the features. I agree with you that the album itself is 21 songs long, and you could easily have cut this down to 12 to 15 somewhere to focus on quality
Yeah,
over quantity. These interludes, whether people say they're supposed to be comedic or not, do not land. Like, they can be trying to be funny, but they're not landing.
no, it's
The comment about being white, but he has black in him, insane.
so
Again,
insane.
why did someone need to put that on an album this big? And it takes you out of the moment. And when the entire purpose from the production of this album is to bring you into this world and almost put you into a trance-like state where you're sitting down and you're just in his world for 50 minutes, those take you out of it. Some of them didn't bother me as much as the others. The Glory voice memo one was a really nice moment, very stripped back and relaxed. I liked, which one was it? Things You Do, which is under 2 minutes. I thought that was really nice and acoustically driven.
Yeah,
There
I
was
like that one.
Zuma House was one that I loved, and I want to hear more of him. Zuma House is very stripped and just him and an acoustic guitar, and you hear his voice really, really well. I liked those. The ones with Drewski are just, why?
Yeah,
Who needs that?
yeah,
What was the purpose of that? And to end the album with, going back to my religious point, with this Marvin Winans talk. Like, it's not Bieber ending the album, and I don't really feel like it fits in the world.
no, it didn't. A lot of those little plugins just don't make sense, and it almost gives overall less album and more mixtape, if that makes sense. Like,
Right. And to take it back to the Miley of it all, Something Beautiful had 2 interludes. Those songs flowed from one to the next, and those interludes weren't conversational interludes, but they were interludes, and those kept you in the world or offered something brand new. Some of them,
yeah,
like
those
Martha
ones, that
Stewart.
one, when you think of like interludes like that, it feels like you're transitioning to a different section of the album. Like if you look at the first
Right.
couple tracks on Something Beautiful, after the first interlude you hear, it's like, oh, sonically we're somewhere different, but it still feels cohesive because we had that little tunnel to
Right.
go through together.
It's a nice transition. Feature wise on this album, did you have a favorite?
I don't think I had a favorite. Nothing really jumped out at me where I was like, this feature was incredible. Like there was one that it wasn't.
Yeah, the Sexy Red one.
Yeah, like that song is so good, and
What a loss.
she fits on certain songs, but they have to be real specific and they got to be real in her lane. But a lot of the times, it just feels like you're pasting a picture over. Say you pick up a magazine and you're like, I don't like the person on that cover. Let me glue stick a picture of them on there instead. That's what a
Yeah,
Sexy Red feature feels like a lot of the time. She's adding like a little bit of humor and a little bit of chaos, but it doesn't ever sound good.
never needed it.
No.
Put it on me, baby, oh yeah, it's been overdue. He gon' do whatever I say, cause sexy got that hoochie coo.
Sweet Spot had the potential to be the best song on this album.
Such a
And
good
then
song.
Sexy Red, it just completely takes you out of the moment. And that's how I felt about a lot of these songs is they had really good bones, but there was one thing that was just the wrong move. Like Sexy
That
Red
he
did not
should
need
have
to be on that
did
song.
SZA. SZA would have fit
Right.
incredibly on that song.
Can you please, can we get a
It would be
version of that?
perfect. Yes,
That would be
please.
so beautiful.
It
That's
would be incredible.
exactly a good fit. It's just like, I don't know who thought that that was the right choice. I
But
have to say,
it doesn't make sense. Like, do you remember seeing like I'm going back to his Instagram and his chaotic ways lately? I am leaning towards like, was this all promo for the album? Like, I know he's a little off and wonky in his own way, but I'm like, I think he really amped it up to like lead up to the album because even when Haley posted on her story, is it finally clocking to you losers? It's like,
yeah,
should that have been our hint the whole time that he was like playing into everything, acting crazy, getting all the headlines just to be like, nah, I have an album, dummies.
I really struggle with that. I really struggle with that. And I've been thinking about that all weekend is people using mental health concerns and out of the norm behavior to help sell something. The struggle that I have with it is that it did dampen his not credibility, but it did dampen the way that the way that I view him, the way that a lot of people are viewing him these days, where
Yeah,
there were genuine concerns over his mental health, if he was sober, if he was in a good headspace, if he was at risk of anything. Like it just reminds you back of the time when he was very visibly not okay, to then kind of flip it and be like, well, it was all kind of on purpose. I just feel like there
yeah,
are other ways to get your name out in conversation, especially being Justin Bieber. Like this, he could have just not done any of that and still surprise dropped this album, and it would still be
yeah,
pulling the numbers that it is because people have been waiting 4 years for a new album from him. And this is something new. It's something fresh. It's something different. It is not at all what Justice was. Justice
and
was
the other face of the we're gaining attention for the album release is that also it could just be a backtrack. Like now that you know I have an album coming, we're gonna mask all that stuff you just saw as like promo. When was it real? Was it fake? Was it promo? Is it are they using that as like a way to cover up that it was just promo? You know, I don't there's no
interesting.
clear vision on what went on. Like was he actually acting erratic like that? Was it for promo? Or
Right.
now that the album's out and it's causing a distraction, are they like, haha, this is what we did, when really they're like, well, this is just working for us, so let's roll with it.
But I mean,
So like,
even to look at it like that, I don't even know how to process it
right?
because like the paparazzi confrontations feel so real. And like you mentioned, Britney, we saw very similar situations in the mid 2000s of her
Yeah,
and the paparazzi having these very similar issues and fights, and she wasn't okay. And
yeah,
I didn't think that he was either. And then to put it on the album, that to me is funny. Like that shows that there's a little bit of a sense of humor here to use it on the album. But
yeah,
I think like it could have been an authentic reaction and then still used on the album to make a statement rather than it being faked for the purpose of putting it on the album. I don't necessarily
yeah.
know if I believe that, but it's definitely a possibility. You never know. It's entertainment, people.
Yeah, you really never know. The Standing on Business was so recent that it was like clearly this was never meant to be on the album. Like this happened, what, a month ago now? I don't
Yeah,
even remember. Like
exactly.
it wasn't that long ago to have it rushed to like put a song on there. I almost think it would have been more effective if like not that song specifically, but like he used a clip from that audio as the album opener. Like it's not clocking to you that I'm standing on bit. That would have been insane. Like if the
That would
album
have
was
been
started
so
like that,
cool.
that would have been like a better nod to what happened and like, here you are.
Right. That's a great point.
Like imagine the night of the surprise drop, you click play on the album and that's the first thing you hear. That would have been insane.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Love that idea. That would have been so badass.
It would have been a much better use of it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, something else I was thinking about on this album is there's a very clear Michael Jackson influence. Even his inspirations from Usher, working with him for so many years, 20 plus years now, and being in his life, R&B heavy. And a lot of time, you, myself, other people who create content about pop music have been saying, really for the last year plus. Like, where are all the male pop stars? I
Yeah.
literally on my TikTok, like memories, how it serves you, like a year ago, 2 years ago, you posted this video. Yesterday or 2 days ago, a year ago, I posted a whole video about where are the male pop stars? Harry
Yeah.
Styles missing. The Weeknd at that point
Harry
missing.
Styles,
Bieber,
come back, please.
please. Bieber at that time missing. And then
Yeah.
all the comments I would get in response to that were, we have Conan Gray, we have Benson Boone, we have Alex Warren. I'm like, give me a break. Those are
But
not
they're
the
not
male
the
pop
same
stars.
full like pop star encapsulation that we're envisioning. Like we're looking at like the male
The
Sabrina
package.
Carpenter or like the
Yeah.
male Taylor Swift.
What I was thinking about with the Bieber return, with the Michael Jackson influence, with the Weeknd coming back this year, and he has always been so inspired by Michael Jackson. Can't Feel My Face. I mean, the opening song on Hurry Up Tomorrow, Wake Me Up, is interpolating Thriller. There's so many songs of the Weeknd's like Out of Time that feel like early Michael Jackson. So my question and the thing I've been thinking a lot through is, you have modern day pop stars trying to emulate MJ, but is one more effective than the other? Is one the kind of music that that artist should be making, or is it something that we're not wanting from that artist? Do people listen to Justin Bieber to get this album swag, or are they listening to Justin Bieber to get another album like Justice? That's like where my
Yeah.
head's been going about how this kind of positions Justin in 2025 pop music, 2025 male pop star visions, and within his greater discography, where this album stands, comparing it to what you're listening to him for and what you're hoping to get at this point from him.
Yeah, like I think the bulk of his discography is very like manufactured in my opinion. Up until like Changes, it still feels manufactured, but it feels like in a different way, I guess. But like
What, him posting on
Believe,
Instagram a thousand times to get Yummy to debut at #1 to buy
yeah,
it on iTunes?
that was terrible. I hated
Was
that.
that was
How
totally
to
okay.
how to get to #1? Keep swipe, like delete that immediately. Stop. And like, but yeah, the albums are very like manufactured as like a pop album. Like he's got the dance moves, he's got like the outfits, everything, and he kind of already established himself in those eras as like, I'm kind of here to stay. Like I don't want to say he's like a legacy act because he's not at all. He has so much more time and like talent to do things to like completely shift any narrative he wants. Like he can do whatever he wants, but he's one of those artists that's like he's has the support regardless of what he's going to put out. So he might as well use that to his advantage and maybe try to jump around and see if this is going to work for him or what his fans are going to appreciate and what they're not going to appreciate. Or maybe he's just like, I'm fucking Justin Bieber. You guys are going to take whatever I give anyway. So I'm just going to give you what I want to give you.
I don't think it matters to him. I don't think it matters
Yeah.
to him right now, at least,
No.
to
And I don't
be
think it
number
matters to
one
his
everything.
career. Like looking at all the, like, not that there's a lot of backlash on the album, but all the fans that are like, this isn't the Justin Bieber I thought I was getting. They're going to be there the next time he does the Justin Bieber that they want. You know, like if the rumors are true and he's dropping a true pop album later this year or next year, they're going to be sat for that just as much as they were for this, regardless.
Right. I think, though, you hit a really good point about that a lot of his discography feeling overly manufactured, about being overproduced, about, especially I felt that on Justice. Like Justice had so much build up to be this return to form, return to pop music. And it wasn't a bad album at all. It was pretty solid for like a pop release in general. There are a number of hits on it. I have my own personal issues with the album title being Justice, the MLK interlude, trying to make it a social justice thing when the music had absolutely nothing to do with it, was so distasteful in my mind. And the only other thing that bothered me about it was that there was such a heavy John Bellion influence on that album, with him working on a lot of these songs. In fact, John's voice is on a lot of these songs, like instead of Bieber's, not as a harmony. Like on Hold On, John Bellion is singing the pre-chorus parts, and I can, like, you can pick it up if you know John Bellion's voice, and it just
I don't even know if I've
contributed.
ever noticed that.
Actually, I'll put a little snippet of it in here right now, so that way people can hear it as well.
Painting stars up on your ceiling 'cause you wish that you could find some feeling, yeah.
But the reality was that those songs were hits, and they were strong songs. Like they didn't need to be.
Ghost was one of my favorite songs on that album. I was so happy when he dropped
Really
it as a
good.
single because that was one of my absolute favorites from the moment it dropped. Like Peach is obviously insane, but when I listened to the album in full, Ghost was a standout the whole time to me.
That's a great one. Both of those are so strong. So I've always said with a lot of my favorite artists, I'm here for them to take new risks, to try out a new genre, to do something different. Because when you just consistently deliver the same album in 10 different fonts, it gets repetitive. And,
Yeah.
artists are constantly evolving and listening to new artists as well and wanting to be inspired by different genres. And that's just part of life. And I love when artists take these kind of risks. And if it doesn't pan out, that's okay. I would rather have this album Swag with its flaws and all than another pop album like Justice that was so generic and overproduced, like the downsides of the last one, in my opinion. I'm happy
Yeah.
that he made this album because
Yeah.
it shows me he's still trying and he's doing something fun and out of the box. So that's my response to those fans who are so upset they don't have another baby to put on repeat right now.
Yeah.
That's where my
Put
head's
Daisies on repeat. I've been doing it. It's working great.
yeah. So that takes me into, I want to ask you, what are like your top 3, top 5 right now?
Definitely Daisies. I love Walking Away so much. That's such a great one. That one, I know we compared to Michael Jackson and The Weeknd, but that one feels
Very.
very The Weeknd. Like it feels like The Weeknd's take on Michael Jackson, but also Justin Bieber's take. And I love it. I do love Yukon. And I think maybe I love it because it does remind me of SZA and I love her so much. And I'm like, she would have also been a great feature on that. And I
Yep.
do love the Sexy Red collab. Not that Sexy Red is on it, but that song before her part,
That's a good song.
incredible. I love it, but I just maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know.
Yeah. Sweet Spot and Too Long are 2 songs that reminded me a lot of each other because they start off strong. They're both very, very well done, like pretty back in that like Miami Vice 80s synth kind of world. And vocally, he sounds good. But then on Too Long, he just transitions to singing about getting head.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of the moment, just like the Sexy Red part does on Sweet Spot. Like
Yeah.
that song, the first part is so strong, and then she comes in and completely ruins the vibe. I think my favorite so far, Daisies, I agree, I think is one of the strongest songs on this album, if not the best. Feels like a good blend of R&B, pop. I mean, we can't talk about Daisies and we can't talk about this album without acknowledging the McGee of it all. Like
Yes.
he is such a presence on this album, and also my actual favorite feature, because he's actually credited as a collaborator on it, is Dijon on Devotion. That one is beautiful.
Love Devotion also. Yes.
And also, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, this has to have some Daniel Caesar in here. And he played on the song as well. I really like this direction for him. It feels like a kind of blend between the influences we already spoke about with a little bit of Leon Bridges in here, too. That's one of
Yes.
the strongest songs on this album. One of the best, possibly, of his discography. Something that's like unique and flavorful and just rich of everything. I loved that one.
I'd rather take the long way home. So we can laugh and sing a couple more songs.
Walking Away, I agreed with you on. It finally showed some doubt, some concern, some vulnerability, talking about the
Yeah.
conflict in the relationship, how Haley feels frustrated by his actions and his behavior, his marital struggles. There's some human element to this outside of just getting laid and having fun and being a vibe.
Yes.
There's more weight to it. I'm looking
Even
through.
like with Daisies in the way where it's like it's kind of it sounds like you're listening to like a chase where he's trying to get the girl's attention and she was a little like, oh, I'm not sure, but he kept on and like kept trying to pull her in, and I kind of thought that was a fun element to the song where it was like you're also
Right.
getting the story of them in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it takes me back to something we mentioned in the beginning as we work to like wrap up this conversation about this album, that there's so much that's happened in his life since Justice, that when you finally get a little bit deeper than just surface level songwriting, that's what I've been looking for, to actually know what Justin Bieber is thinking about his life and his relationships, his career at this point, being 31 but having lived a million lives since he was a teenager at this point. I think it does a really good job of establishing a vibe. I just wish that there was a little bit more substance to coincide with it.
I think my question I pose to you based on that is, do you think the storytelling or their lack of storytelling and lack of diving into his personal life, do we think that's a product of him not knowing how to convey that in an album and not being able to do it? Or do we think it's a choice where I kind of said about the public eye and being in the whole machine of it all and being like, you guys aren't getting nothing from me, I'm not letting you into the personal space? So do we think that's a choice, or do we think he's just not there as an artist yet to be able to know how to convey those messages and those stories through music? Because we haven't seen a lot of
I think
it
it's both.
from him in the past. Yeah. Like a
Yeah,
mixture of the two, you
exactly. I
think?
think it's
Like
both.
he's like a little taking
I
a
think
stand, you're not getting everything from me, and then also like, I don't think I can correctly do so.
right. He's never been someone who is a lyrical savant. He's never been someone who's wildly impressed me with the caliber of his songwriting. Maybe he is in the studio working with collaborators and knows what to make of a hook and what kind of drop to go for, something that's going to make a really strong chorus. I'm sure he has an ear for it after all these years, and he is a talented musician. I just don't think that songwriting has ever been the strong suit of Justin Bieber. But I also do agree with you, after so many years of being in the spotlight and being in the public eye and everyone wanting to know his business, he doesn't feel the need to give it. And that's fair. So I think it's a blend of both.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it could be, it's definitely a mixture because I think he has clearly has the story and the life to back up a like a truly vulnerable album to share like his struggles in his life, but he's not. So
Yeah.
is it because he can't? Is it because of the choice? I do feel like it's a mixture because he's
But
never
that,
really gotten super vulnerable regardless. And there has been a few times where he has. I don't remember what it's called, but it was right before he dropped Anyone. It was a ballad and he went and performed it on an award show.
lonely.
Lonely, yes. Like that one wasn't self-written. It was written by a team, but it helped convey like what he was going through in his mental health
Yeah.
time.
But that's the kind of moment that helps you feel like you actually are getting to connect with him as an artist and as a person. That's what I want to understand more of, who he is and what his struggles are. And he very,
Yes.
very lightly mentions them here. There's just not
Yes.
that level deeper, which is fine. That's his prerogative, you know?
Yeah.
I'll ask you this to wrap things up. What kind of impact do you think this album is going to have, a month from now, a year from now, beyond? Is this going to be one of those albums that we come back to in his discography and really go levels deeper on and overanalyze and feel like this is a real key component to understanding who Bieber is as an artist? Or do you feel like this is a one-off that is nice for a moment and then you'll kind of move on and forget about it?
I think overall, I don't know if he's gonna fully stick in this lane completely. I hope he goes down a little more and tries to like discover himself in this lane further. But I don't know if this is gonna be like a standout Bieber album that everyone is like, this was one of his best albums he ever made. But I do think for some people it could be that. Like I think he has a specific selective group of fans, like the journals of it all, that are going to really love this album. Kind of like ride for it, like a cult classic kind of moment. But I think it won't be, as of right now, I don't think it's going to be one of his like big commercial massive albums.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Completely agree with you. You literally took the words out of my mouth. I'm curious to see what direction he's going to head in with this next promised return to pop, whether it's this year or next year, where he wants to take that, what kind of creative choices he makes. But I think it's going to be one of those underground ones that we hear of every so often. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you chatting all things Bieber with me. Where can everybody find you? Plug yourself.
You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram, Nick Palmai1. I'm just the loud guy that screams in his car. I just screamed Justin Bieber. You can go look at it if you want.
It's there. It's there, daisies and all.
There.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nick, again. Appreciate you coming on. For everyone who's tuning in, a huge thank you for listening. If you are not already following and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite provider, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you're listening, please make sure you do so. If you're feeling extra generous, a 5-star review would be great. You can do it in Nick's honor. And thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you all next episode. Bye, guys.